In the investment world, when a key insider provides sworn testimony in open court that directly contradicts a company's public representations and that establishes facts the company had fought vigorously to conceal, it represents something far more consequential than ordinary witness testimony. It signals that someone with intimate knowledge of internal operations has concluded that their own legal jeopardy or moral obligations require telling the truth under oath, regardless of how that truth damages the enterprise they were part of building. That is exactly where we are right now with what emerged from a federal courtroom this morning when Ivanka Trump provided testimony that legal observers are describing as potentially decisive in multiple cases against her father. Testimony that reportedly sent Donald Trump into a fury, and that has immediate implications for both his legal defense strategy and his already fractured family relationships. Before we proceed, if you find this kind of comprehensive analysis valuable, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us continue providing the detailed coverage that examines these developments beyond the sensational headlines and provides the business and legal context necessary to understand their full significance. From an investor's perspective, this is not merely another dramatic moment in an ongoing legal saga. This is about understanding what drives someone to provide testimony that contradicts their own father's interests despite the obvious personal costs involved. What the specific content of that testimony reveals about facts that are crucial to multiple prosecutions, how courts and juries are likely to evaluate testimony from someone whose credibility is enhanced by the personal sacrifice involved in providing it, and what the existence of such testimony means for the viability of legal defenses that depended on maintaining different narratives about key events and Trump's knowledge of their legality. What we are witnessing matters to anyone concerned about how family loyalty intersects with legal obligations, about the weight courts give to insider testimony that comes at personal cost of the witness, and about what happens when carefully constructed legal defenses collapse because key witnesses decide that truth under oath takes precedence over protecting family members. Courtroom testimony from family members against defendants does not occur through casual decisions or through coercion that would undermine its credibility. It happens when individuals face legal compulsion to testify truthfully when they conclude that their own legal exposure requires cooperation rather than evasion, or when they determine that moral or civic obligations override family loyalty in circumstances involving serious alleged misconduct. And that is what I want to talk to you about today, because Ivanka Trump's courtroom statement carries implications that extend well beyond its immediate impact on specific legal proceedings and speaks to deeper questions about the limits of family privilege, the moment when self-preservation or principle requires breaking from family interests, and what happens when the most credible possible witness provides testimony that undermines fundamental elements of a defendant's case. In my 94 years, I have watched how insider testimony shapes outcomes in complex legal proceedings, how witnesses who have obvious incentives to support defendants, but who nonetheless provide damaging testimony, are viewed as particularly credible precisely because they testify against their apparent interests, and how such testimony often proves decisive in cases where other evidence might be disputed or ambiguous, but where insider accounts provide clarity that juries find compelling. As someone who has spent over half a century analyzing how information from inside organizations affects legal and financial outcomes, how credibility assessments drive jury verdicts in cases involving disputed facts, and how legal strategies adapt or collapse when key assumptions about what witnesses will say prove incorrect, I can tell you this. When a defendant's own daughter provides sworn testimony in open court that establishes facts the defendant has denied that contradicts key elements of his defense strategy and that aligns with prosecution theories about criminal conduct and intent, it represents extraordinary evidentiary development that fundamentally alters the landscape of all related proceedings. Such testimony carries weight far beyond what external witnesses can provide because family members are presumed to have both detailed knowledge and powerful incentives to protect rather than damage their relatives. Markets teach you that When insiders with comprehensive knowledge provide information that damages their own interests and relationships, that information should be given substantial credence because the cost providing it suggests the witness believes accuracy and legal obligation override other considerations. Family member testimony against defendants operates on similar principles. The personal and relational costs are so high that courts and juries generally conclude such testimony must be truthful because the witness would have powerful reasons to shade or withhold information if accuracy permitted doing so. Now, I am not here to express satisfaction at family conflict or to speculate about Ivanka Trump's personal motivations beyond what can be reasonably inferred from the legal context. Let me be clear about something. From where I sit, this is about understanding what compelled Ivanka to provide this testimony when she had previously sought to avoid testifying at all. What the specific content of her courtroom statement establishes about facts that are contested in multiple cases. How her testimony interacts with other evidence to create comprehensive record that prosecutors can use. And what the existence of this testimony means for Trump's legal position going forward, given that his own daughter has now established under oath facts he has consistently denied. What happened this morning in the federal courthouse in Washington represents more than just another day of trial testimony in what has been a long and complex proceeding. It represents a moment when the defendant's closest family member, someone who worked alongside him in business and in the White House, someone who has every personal reason to want to protect him, provided testimony under oath that prosecutors are describing as confirming the core elements of their case regarding his knowledge, intent, and deliberate violations of law. According to reporters who were present in the courtroom and according to transcripts that are now being made public, Ivanka Trump testified for approximately 4 hours this morning in the federal election interference case. She was called as a prosecution witness.